What is up, everybody? Welcome back to yet again another episode of the pod. That was the worst Southern accent ever in the world. But I finally got my Texas driver's license today, so that was in spirit and celebration of that. It is quite a process here in Austin to freaking get your like when you move, reinstate and get your new driver's license. I have now been here for 15 months. And we finally got it done. Now, I will say partly my fault. I did have my first appointment scheduled for last December, and then I rescheduled that because I went on a trip, and then I moved it to May, and then I didn't have my registration, so I had to move it again. But it's like every time you have to move it or make it, it's like 6 months out. So here we are. It took me quite a long time, but we got it. We made it. I almost didn't have one of the papers again today, but shh, don't tell my mom. But we got it. We made it. We're good. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my Texas accent because I'm officially a Texas resident. Let's go. But anyway, on to the good stuff here. Diving into today's episode, as you can see from the title of the episode, we're going to be getting into what I think, at least, are some major red flags in the online fitness coaching industry. Some of these do apply to even the in-person trainer industry as well. So whether you're looking for an online coach or even just a in-person personal trainer, definitely take some of these in consideration because I do think they parallel on both sides. But we're going to be getting into some of the red flags that I see often and I've seen people screwed over by and what you really should be looking for, like what the opposing green flag is. And I know I'm going to get a little heated in this episode, so I forewarn you of that. I just had to turn on the fan here in my office because every time I do a podcast episode where I'm like really fired up about it and really into it, I just like, I don't know, I lose my train of thought, I get overheated and it's a mess. So we got the fan going, means I can get passionate. What else was I gonna say? Oh, yeah, and then one thing I do want to preface with too is that my goal of this episode is not to scream, Accelerate Athletics is the best and it's all the green flags and you should absolutely work with EA. Like, obviously, I think we are the green flags because this is something that, does drive me insane and upsets me when I see some of these red flags. So obviously, with my integrity, I'm going to do everything we can for EA to be the green flags of that. But there are also a lot of other awesome coaches out there as well. And I think one of the biggest things that's really important, and I actually mentioned this, I'll kind of go more in depth when I get to it in the red and green flags list, but something that you should be prioritizing is vibe and making sure you fit well with the coach that you're going to have, making sure that you feel like you can be honest with them. And a lot of that comes from personality and fit and all of that. And I can go ahead and say that, we're not going to be that for everybody, and that's okay. And I think that there's other awesome coaches out there that could be. My biggest thing for this episode is that I want you to know what to look for and know how to find the right fit and know what to kind of be weary of. Because whether you're somebody, I mean, I think there's two parts to this. I've talked to a lot of people who have had a coach before, and unfortunately, it was a very, very, very poor experience. And now they are very nervous to both invest financially again in a coach, and or like put their health and their body in the hands of a coach again, because some of the red flags aren't just the fact that like, maybe, you waste your money or maybe, or like, sorry, the consequences of red flags aren't just, you waste your money or aren't just it didn't work. Some of these repercussions and red flags can have like very negative effects on a person's health and metabolism. And so there's the risk of that. And so anybody who's been through a really poor coaching experience, I understand why you'd be skeptical, right? Rightfully so. But it makes me very sad because oftentimes, these people are still seeking out support and seeking out help and trying to figure out how to get to their goals. Because obviously, they didn't get to them with the first red flag incident, but they're in now this stuck place because they can't do it on their own, but they're, afraid to take the risk again. And now they're just kind of screwed over. And so I hope this episode can serve to empower you if you're somebody that's been in that boat of knowing that there are good coaches out there and that you can give it a chance again, but knowing how to know it's going to be right and going to be worth it. Okay. So really making sure you're looking for the green flags that I talk about and that you are very, very weary of the red flags I talk about. Or if you're somebody who has just never had a coach, it's something you're interested in, you're in the process of maybe looking or, trying to figure out who the right fit is. But again, you might not know what to look for. And we don't want you to end up in the boat of like the first person that I just talked about. So again, I hope that this empowers you and gives you the knowledge of what questions to ask the person that you're, interviewing to, because do remember you are interviewing them and they should be interviewing you too. And I do get to that on here as well, but you're paying somebody money. Like you are in the driver's seat. And so I do want you to know, what to ask, what to look for, what to be weary about, etc. So that's the point of this episode. It's not to convince you EA is the best. It's not to convince you to work with us, though, of course, I do think we are. But I do think there's a lot of other fantastic coaches out there as well. And I actually will make sure that I tag some of my favorites, ones that I know are well reputable in the industry, some personal friends of myself that I know ethically, are very great at what they do, so that you have options and you can look and see, who those look like. And then, yeah, there's a lot of great ones, but there are, unfortunately, a lot of crappy ones. So that's what I want you on high alert about. And that's what I want to kind of warn you against or show you, what to, again, look for within this episode. So without further ado, let's dive into it. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 red flags. There's probably more, but I figured that was an extensive enough list that covered a good bit. And I also have kind of the opposing, like, green flag. So instead of this, look for this, or this is how it should be versus this is, what it should not be, right? So I will say the first 3 are relatively similar. They're different, same, but different. They go together. So it might sound a little bit like they're kind of flowing into each other and repeating themselves, but they're slightly different in all the facets. So anyway, I'm going to start with number 1. And the red flag is that if somebody is going to promise you fast results or results in a certain amount of time. So, I can help you lose 20 pounds in three months or 12 weeks or whatever. Sometimes these are like, again, it's obviously a marketing tactic, but anyone who's promising you, number 1, fast results, or really just, again, specific results in a specific amount of time, it's a red flag, because nobody can guarantee anything. And that's the first thing I will admit as a coach is, even though we're so like, and I'm saying like we, like, the EI team or me, like, we're good at what we do and we're experts, we still can't guarantee that anything's going to work or get you to, this, like, goal in a period of time, because nobody knows, number 1, what your adherence is going to look like. Obviously there's the caveat of maybe like, if you followed this perfectly to a T, like, yes, this should be the outcome, but we don't know what your adherence is going to be like. We don't know your life circumstances and what's going to come up. Is there going to be something tragic that happens that really sets you back during your time? Is there going to be a move that you're not expecting that, like, sets us back a little bit? And we just can't predict that, right? And we also don't know your body's response. And this is just scientific facts. And so I think just having a coach who's upfront about that, and can tell you that, hey, this is going to take a long time, and we don't know exactly what that timeline looks like, but we do know that if you show up every day in and day out, and you do what we're saying to the best of your ability, we are going to get there. Like, we can guarantee that, but we just don't know how long it's going to take. And the other big reason I'd be weary of somebody, the red flag here of saying that they can get you fast results, is what it's going to likely lean into is that they're going to just focus on getting you the results and not the overall longevity. And I'm going to dive into that a little bit more in the second red flag here. But coaches who are just focused on, like, making you happy, honestly, red flag. Because sometimes the things that are going to set you up for the best success in the long run means it's going to take a little bit longer. And so the opposing green flag here is a coach that is honest with you from the get-go, that we don't know how long this is going to take. We can take a guess for sure, and we know we can get there, but we don't know what we're going to have to figure out to get there. We don't know what setbacks we're going to have. And this is a green flag because, if you think about it, this is not what you want to hear. It's not what sells, but it is what is realistic. And if a coach is being honest with you and is telling you potentially what they know is going to make you not want to sign up with them, that's a good freaking coach, okay? Because then they're not doing it for sales. They're not doing it for the dollar signs of knowing that if they tell you, yeah, I can get you to that goal, you're going to pay. They're not doing it for that reason. They're doing it because they do have your best interest long term at heart. So that's a big part. And also another aspect of telling you it's going to take a long time is they're being honest with you, and they're setting you up with the mentality that this isn't something that you're just going to stick with for the 12 weeks. Because if somebody tells you, hey, we can get there in 12 weeks, like, okay, great. And like, then you're now on the mindset track of like, great, I just have to do this for 12 weeks and then we're good to go. And we all know in reality, like, this is why people gain weight back, and they're not making this a ultimate lifelong change. And so just having that conscious, like, setup of mentally, this is going to take us a while. like we're changing for life, right? This is a lifestyle change. There's no finish line. Like that's a coaching green flag. Okay. So that's my first thing is the red flag there is a coach that promises you fast results or results in a certain amount of time. And the green flag opposing to that is they tell you it's probably going to take a long time. We don't have a finish line. We're just trying to get you to be the best we can be. And we're going to get to that goal eventually, but we don't know what's going to come up. We're going to just prioritize your overall health. And that's going to be what gets us there ultimately. Okay. Now, kind of similar to this, my next red flag is that a coach is only focusing on your acute goal and or like what you want, okay? And that might you might be like, "What? Like I'm hiring them so they should be focusing on what I want." And again, yes, of course, like we are going to ultimately work towards getting you to that acute goal that you do have. But if you come and you say, "My goal is to lose 30 pounds," but you're eating 1,200 calories, a red flag coach, like they're not gonna all they're gonna care about is your acute goal of losing 30 pounds. And so they might take you from 1,200 to 1,100 to 1,000 calories to 9. And sure, that's gonna make the scale go down, right? But they're not thinking about like what does this person actually need for their relationship with food mentally to be, set up well for the rest of their life, for their mental health to be good for the rest of their life when it comes to food. What do they need metabolically, so that they can not only achieve this goal, but actually maintain it and sustain it without a ton of effort and without killing themselves for the rest of their life? What do they actually need to, and this is I'll explain this more in a second. This won't make sense right when I say it, but what do they actually need to reach that goal, right? So, for example, if you come and tell me your goal is to lose 30 pounds and you think that you just want to lose weight, I don't want to just focus on what you think you want. Part of my role as a coach is to also teach and show you what you maybe think you want versus what you mean that you want. And this isn't, I'm not saying like, oh, I know best and what you want about yourself is wrong. Here's what you need instead. No, what you want about yourself is right. I think that a lot of us just in today's diet culture world and like miseducation and misknowledge around how nutrition and body composition and things work, we don't actually understand how it works to get to that goal. So oftentimes when somebody says they want to lose 30 pounds, what they really do mean is they want to be leaner and be toned. And they don't actually like they think it's 30 pounds, but they don't really know. Or they're picturing that when they lose this 30 pounds, they're going to have this like nice tone and definition. And what they're kind of missing when they say they want to just lose 30 pounds is that, oh, like I also need to build some of that lean muscle to have that definition. And so part of a role as a coach, a green flag is to be actually teaching and educating that client is, okay, I hear what you're trying to say. But I think what you maybe mean is this, and also checking in with you, is that what you mean? Right. So I often ask this on consult calls. I hear you saying that you want to lose 30 pounds, but I think that what you might mean is that you want to lose weight. Like, yes, likely we're going to see weight loss on the scale, but you're picturing this like toned and lean body. And so what I want to teach you and show you is that in order to have that tone, we do need to build some muscle as well, because that's what gives the definition. And to do that, we may have to go through a period of time where we're focused more on like eating higher protein, strength training, and then we can focus on that weight loss, right? And so again, the green flag here is not just focusing on what the client is saying they want and getting them to that goal quickly, or doing whatever it takes to lose the weight in the moment when it might hurt them metabolically long term or not set them up for success long term. The green flag is to approach the ultimate goal from the bigger picture view and understanding that there's maybe more than just 8 weeks of restrictive dieting that need to be done to go into this person being where they actually want to be and being able to sustain it and be healthy long term. And again, this kind of goes back to what I said in the previous one. The coach who's saying the right thing here, the green flag, it's in the moment, the client, it might not be what the client wants to hear. And again, that's a green flag that the coach has your best interest at heart, because they know that that might not make you excited to just instantly like say yes, because saying it's going to be slow or it's going to take time or we're going to have to do this again, it doesn't sell. It's not sexy, but it is what is best for you. Okay. So that's the second thing, is just a coach who's only focusing on your acute goal or what you want and not really helping educate you on, hey, this might be the bigger picture of what you want. Right. I hope that makes sense. And then the third red flag here, again, very similar. I probably could have condensed these all, but a coach who's just cutting your calories, right? Like you just come to them and they just, and again, you tell them your goal is to lose weight and they're just slashing calories or adding a bunch of cardio. If we are continuing to have to do that, you are not in a place where your body's responding to the way it should be to a healthy calorie deficit. If your coach is taking you, I mean, everybody's a little bit different, but I would be really weary of any coach who's taking you under like 1,400 calories. That's truly the bare minimum for probably most women. unless you are like 4'5" and 90 pounds. I don't like, I really can't think of, I mean, even my like 4'11", 5 foot shorty girls, like there's really not many of you who are like probably optimizing your health on less than 1,400 calories. So a coach who's doing that, again, what they're probably trying to do here is just get you instant results to number one, just keep you happy. And number two, potentially have progress pictures to be able to utilize for transformations and for more lead generation and marketing so that they can just rinse and repeat this cycle and get people to say, see these awesome transformations. Woo, like I want to sign up with you. But in reality, they're not actually taking care of their clients' metabolic health and setting them up for long-term success, because this isn't putting you in a place where you're going to be able to sustain this weight loss while actually living your life, because nobody's going to be able to maintain eating 1,000 calories a day. And yeah, they're just, again, really worried about the acute results rather than the bigger picture. So the green flag here instead is a coach who is prioritizing your long-term metabolic and hormonal health over instant results. Because eating in a very chronic calorie deficit for a long period of time, especially for women, going to send your hormones down the gutter. You will not see this happen instantly, or it's happening internally pretty quickly, but you're not going to see the effects of it on the outside, and in terms of like your energy and stuff like that instantly, but long term you will. But the coach doesn't care about that, because they're just trying to keep you happy right now in the 3 months that you're working with them and get those progress pictures so that they can repeat this. They don't care when you're gone in 3 months, they'll have another client because they used your progress pictures to, market and get that client. Again, versus the green flag, a coach who's like, hey, if we have to drop to 1,000 calories to lose weight, you're not in a spot to be able to healthily lose weight. Let's work on repairing your metabolism. Let's work on, making sure your hormones are optimal. Let's work on, putting you in a better, just overall spot to have a healthy mentally, or healthy mental fat loss phase as well. And that's, again, a coach that green flags. Okay. So that wraps up the third one. Honestly, to just put those first three together in a big lump, truly what I'm trying to say is, a red flag coach is just worried about getting you instantaneous results and keeping you happy in that moment. Maybe there's somebody who's new and desperate for clients. Maybe they just really want to get those results, so they have the progress pictures. Whatever it may be, they just want to say what you want to hear. And instead, a green flag coach isn't saying what you want to hear. They're saying what you need to hear. Okay. So that's really the big thing. Now, getting into some more, hold on, I do need a sip of water because I'm getting a little heated. I knew that would happen. Getting into some a little bit more, I feel like straight up ones, but this is something that is going to be like, you'll know from the very beginning. Okay. Red flag. There is no initial consultation call or any type of like consultation. Maybe it's not a call, maybe it's texting, maybe, I mean, I think a call is best, but if there's whatever, no initial consult whatsoever to see if you're a good fit for them and they're a good fit for you, red flag. Okay. Because I do think that the reality is not every dynamic is going to be a good fit. This is what I was alluding to in kind of the intro of the episode, is vibe, very important. I think being able to vibe with your coach, feeling like your personalities mesh, feeling like you can talk to them, you can be honest with them, feeling like you can trust them. Like, these are really important things to someone that you're putting your health in their hands. Both because, again, like, you need to be able to trust them, but also like there's parts of that might go on with for in your life or in your day-to-day. Maybe you don't have a really good week. Maybe you mess up on protocols. Maybe you're struggling with something mentally. If you don't feel like you can tell your coach that, whether you think they're going to get mad or they intimidate you or whatever, like, that's not going to create a relationship where they can approach you to the best of their ability. So vibe, trust, being able to like know that you can be candid with your coach. It's all really important. There's no way to know that if there's no consultation process. So part of it is that you are seeing, okay, are they a good fit for you? But also we're seeing if you're a good fit for us. I mean, there's been plenty of people I talk to where I'm very honest. I'm like, look, and this goes back to the idea of like good coaches. Yes, of course, this is our job in our business. And of course we need to, make a living, and we are trying to sign clients and make money. Like, I'm not going to, hide that. But that's ultimately not at the core value, like, of why we got into this, right? So I would much rather turn away somebody who, even if they're willing to pay me, who I know I'm not going to be able to help to the best of my ability for whatever reason, I'd rather turn them away than just take their money knowing that it's not a good fit. So there's times when that's been the case, whether it be because, honestly, I just know, like, attitude wise, me and that person don't fit, or vibe wise, me and that person don't fit, or, I don't feel like there's respect there, or I don't feel like, I mean, there's definitely been some where I can tell the person honestly isn't in it, right? Like they're kind of one of those people that think, oh, if I spend money, it'll happen. And it's like, no, 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 you still got to put in the work. And if I get that vibe, I'm like, don't spend the money. I can tell you're not willing to put in the work. So all of that to say, I do think that there should be some sort of initial consult for both parties to decide, do we think this is a good fit? Rather than if there's no initial consult, it's just like, obviously they're just taking anybody's money. And it's like, where's the selective process there? So the green flag is that there is some sort of consultation process for us that is first, we actually have a pretty extensive consultation process. It is first a 10 to 15-minute call with me or one of our assistant coaches to just first off see vibe there, what's going on with you health wise. Do we feel like it's in our scope? Because that's another thing, scope. I didn't even mention that. But like, let's say you have a ton of health issues going on that like are not in the coach's scope. How are they going to know that and be able to be honest and turn you away if you don't have a consult? Yeah. So that's a big thing. But we have that. And then if we do feel like it's potentially a good fit, we then have an hour consultation call where that's where we really game plan. Like, what do we need? We do a lot of the customization. Again, we make sure you understand what you're paying for. If you think it's a good fit, you decide then if it is a good fit and move forward. Like, it's very extensive. So that is number 4. Okay. Ooh, number 5. We're getting halfway through here. This one seems pretty obvious, but I have heard many, many bad stories about this. So response time. Okay. Red flag. If a coach takes more than 24 to maybe 48 hours to respond to you, red flag. If this is what's agreed upon. I mean, I understand there's maybe some coaches that are maybe they're a lot cheaper out there and their part is like, hey, I'll respond in 5 days. Like, cool. I mean, if that's what they said and that's what you agreed to, like then they're upholding their responsibility. But for like higher ticket one-to-one coaching, I do not think response time, like if you are paying more than $200 a month, okay, I do not think response time should be any more than 48 hours. Now, everybody deserves a day off. So, like for EA, we do have coaches have Saturdays off. So, from Friday to Sunday morning, that might be a little bit of a longer time. But we're also transparent about that from the beginning, and clients, know that. That's not hidden. But outside of that, 24-hour response time. They will always hear back from us within 24 hours. I've had coaches where it's 48. I think that's okay too. Obviously, like sometimes if you're a higher level type of person working with a higher level coach, typically you don't need to be in contact with your coach all the time. So you're pretty self-sufficient. But all of that to say, like if you are paying higher ticket prices, you should be getting pretty fast responses. Okay. So that's the green flag. I think a coach who tells you they'll get back to you within 24 to 48 hours, that's solid. So quick and short, but that was number 5. Okay, number 6. This is a little bit of a personal thought. Okay. So this is just my take. But I do think that a red flag is coaches who only do meal plans. I'm going to put a little bit of an asterisk because there are clients we have built meal plans for, and we do supply meal plans, but it's more from an aspect of giving clients meal ideas for what types of, number one, like more recipes and things to make, and number 2, like what types of meals and combination of meals would actually help fit their macro goals. But the red flag to me of why like just meal plans is a red flag is a couple reasons. Number 1, it's a really good way for the coach to make you need them forever. Okay. If they are just telling you what to eat and they're not teaching you like how they came up with the meal plan, which I'm kind of bleeding into my next one here, but how they came up with the meal plan, why, how to change it, like now you need that coach to build you meal plans forever and ever and ever. Like, how are you going to ever deviate away from that? You have no idea like why the meal plan is what it is. So that's kind of a big thing there. I also think number 2 is if they're also not teaching you alongside of it of like how to deviate from the meal plan, like when you do have something come up, because let's be real, you are not going to eat this meal plan every single day, even in the time you're working with this coach. I'd be so impressed if any of you came and you said for 3 months you never deviated from your meal plan. It's just not going to happen. And the problem with meal plans is that once you have one meal that day that's not on plan, the rest of the plan is null and void because everything is built off of each other. Okay, because like it's built to give you a certain, like what a meal plan is doing is the coach has decided you need this many calories and like they've just built out the meals to hit that. And so if you take away one meal and eat one meal differently, like the whole thing is off. And so it doesn't teach you at all how to go about your day normally and how to set you up for the real world. So this is why I think meal plans are just a red flag. I think it's honestly a really easy way for the coach to just like make a template, grab that from ChatGPT, grab that from the internet, give the same meal plan to all their clients. I don't know. and it does not set you up for success at all. The green flag that I really think is a much better approach is, I mean, on a big point of view, is just having like, there's not like a one size fits all approach. Like nutrition should be an adjustable, fitting approach to nutrition that takes into consideration your lifestyle, your mindset, your like what you're capable of doing. And I will say for Accelerate Athletics, most of our clients track macros. And I'll talk about in a second why I think that's a much better approach than meal plans, but not every client tracks macros. And this is where we have that customization and adjustability to what a client needs. Like we have clients who maybe tracking is just really not good for them because they come from an ED history and we're just not going to do that. Okay, we're going to take a different approach. Maybe we're going to focus on how to build a plate, how to make sure we've got a protein, carb, and fat at each meal, etc. Maybe we have a super busy mom who like plugging things into an app, it's just not going to happen. So we need to take that into consideration. And maybe instead they're sending food pictures to their coach, or maybe instead, we're just focusing on like a certain amount of protein at each meal. There's a lot of different ways to approach this. And going back to kind of the red flag on this is if a coach does not adjust to what you need, right? Like if they just say, no, here's how we do things, meal plans is the way. Or even if they say, no, here's how we do things, macros is the way. Even though I'm about to talk about why I love macros, if the coach is like, but we have to do macros, red flag. They can have an approach that they love, but a good coach should be able to, when you're paying for customized coaching, the coach should customize it to you. We need to take another approach to fit what you have going on. That's what needs to be happening. Okay. So that's kind of the green flag side of this, is it should just, we got to find what works for you. Now, I do like macros because it does give you that flexibility, and it does teach you. It's a really good tool to educate you on how to fuel your body, how to know what you need, what that looks like when you're building meals, and then how to change that as you go. So if you need to change your breakfast today because you're going out to eat with your girlfriends rather than having your typical egg scramble at home, okay, great. You can guesstimate and learn how to, plug that in and track. And now you can adjust the rest of your day based on what you had at breakfast out with your girlfriends, rather than if you went with your girlfriends out to breakfast and now your entire meal plan for the day is thrown off. So that's, I think, a green flag is, again, a coach that uses something other than meal plans and makes it fit to you. Okay. All right, kind of on similar note, a red flag is a coach who only gives you strategy. Like they just give you your workout plan and they just give you your nutrition plan, whether that be a meal plan or macros. Like even if coaches do macros, awesome. If all they do is say, here's your macros, here's your workouts, go crush it, and like you're checking in with them, whatever, and they're not giving you any type of, here's how I set your macros to what I did. Here's why I set them to what they did. Here's why our training style looks like this. Like red flag, because again, great way for them to need you, for you to need them forever. If you're not learning anything, you're not being set up for success for the long run. It's a very like a dependability relationship. I just made that word up. They're making you depend on them forever. Okay. I always joke, it's a joke, but it's also not, that we have a crappy business model because my business model is that you are being taught the how and the why while we're doing it to eventually get you to a place where you could do this on your own if you want to. You understand the how and why what we're doing, both so that you can, again, go forward on your own and not need to pay a coach forever. But also, I really do believe that part of somebody actually wanting to discipline themselves to something and stick with something and build this as a consistent lifestyle is they have to be bought in. They have to understand why they're putting this effort in to track their macros. They have to understand why, not missing their workout and why training, like the way they're training, is going to make a difference. Because when that clicks for them and they understand the science, they're going to be a lot more likely to want to discipline themselves to it. And so I think those are two big reasons why a coach teaching you and giving you the education is so massively important. And, on the side, I'll just add this, on the side of like the fact that I'm like, oh, we don't have a good business model, like it's supposed to, make you not need us forever. We somehow still end up re-signing like 50% of our clients every single month. So that means every time a client is up for renewal, 1 in every 2 stay. And it's not because we're gatekeeping anything. It's because they have like this, and I'm kind of even talking to maybe coaches who are listening to this right now, because I know you might think like, oh, well, if I give them all the information, they're going to leave. No, they're going to trust you. Okay. And they're going to feel empowered and they're going to want to stay, maybe not forever. I honestly don't want a client that stays forever, but they might want to stay a little bit longer and renew 1 or 2 more times because they trust you, because you have made them feel like you're always on their side, because you are. And people just still love the accountability and love the outsourcing of having it done for them. Even though they might know and understand now at this point how to do it, they still love the accountability of outsourcing. So if you're a coach listening to this, don't gatekeep from your clients because you think it's going to make them want to stay with you longer. Give them every single ounce of information you possibly can. And I guarantee you, they're going to trust you more for it. They're going to love you for it. They're going to be loyal to you for it. And when they do eventually leave and graduate, because they should, you're going to know that they are truly set up for the rest of their life. And that is why you should be a coach in the first place. Okay. So that's my little tangent there. All right. We got two more. I'm almost done. I got to take another sip because that one had me heated as well. All right. Big one. Next red flag. If there is no consideration for what you're currently doing when you get started with them. So if they don't do any type of intake form, or they don't do like if they didn't do an intake call, consultation call, and they didn't get information from that, if they don't ask you what your nutrition habits had been like, if they don't ask you to track your food, like this is a huge red flag, because if they're able to give you your plan without knowing anything of what you've been doing, 100% it's a cookie cutter bullshit plan. 100%. How are they supposed to tell you what you should be doing if they don't know what you've been doing? Okay. The green flag here is they take an extensive intake of current conditions. We at EA, we have our new clients track their intake for 5 days minimum before we even put together their starting protocols. Because let me give you an example. Okay. If I had a client who, they want to lose weight, they want to lose body fat, and they've been eating 1,200 calories for years and just not budging. Okay. We might know that we need to increase their intake for a period of time. This is going back to, again, the one earlier. You see how these all overlap, but being a coach that says, hey, we might need to go through a phase where we reverse diet and we put your metabolism back in a better place and we spend some time increasing your calories. This client, number one, is going to be like, what the heck? No, I don't want to do that. But again, green flag, because I'm telling you not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. But let's say that they agree. Okay, awesome, great. They're eating 1,200 calories. If I didn't know that, but I just put them up to like 1,800 calories, they're going to, number one, mentally freak out. Okay. And probably not adhere to it because they're scared. But let's say they did adhere to it. So number two, they're going to gain extra weight that they don't need because we jumped too fast. And so that's like not taking into consideration where they were. And like I can go plug in your stats and everything and see maybe what you should be eating to reach your goal. But again, if I'm not taking into consideration where you are, there might be a really vast difference there that if we just jump to where you quote unquote should be, it's going to like you're gonna struggle mentally, you're gonna struggle physically. And so we need to make these like slow adjustments and meet you where you're at. And again, if I don't know that, how can a coach do that? Same thing with workouts. Like oftentimes we need to do what we haven't been doing, and novelty is best. And like if you're somebody who's been doing a ton of cardio workout classes, like the last thing I want to do, and we're coming into trying to switch things up, and you haven't been seeing results, and we need to be novel, and we maybe need to spend time building muscle or whatever. The last thing I want to do is put you on like a hit type of strength training workout, because you've already been training that way and it's not working, right? So they need to understand what your prior conditions are and customize that to you. And if they're not doing that, huge red flag, because I guarantee they're just handing the same strategy to everybody. Okay. So that is number 8. No consideration for what you're currently doing. No intake. Green flag, there should be an extensive intake of your current conditions. And finally, we've gotten to the last one. This is quite a long episode. Okay. This one is potentially a little bit controversial. All right. But this is a good one to end on too, because I think that this is a reason people go to coaches, especially online. The influencer style coaches who maybe have a big following, maybe look really good. Red flag. I don't want to say this is a red flag, okay? Because somebody can look really good and have a big following and be an awesome coach. I guess what I'm trying to say is that's not the reason they're a good coach. Okay. So if they're only a coach because they got shredded or they competed or they have a large following, like I guess I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this well, because like you might not know they're only a coach for that reason, but just be weary. Make sure that they have more to them than that. So, because there are a lot of people out there that think just because they got shredded and stepped on stage that they can get other people lean and shredded. And that is not the case. Just because they had the discipline doesn't mean there's way more to it. Like they can understand the science. They can know, oh yeah, like you dropped calories and someone's gonna get shredded. Everybody knows that. Okay. You're not a coach because you know that. What makes a good coach is understanding the ins and outs scientifically of how to do it in a very like sustainable way, how to do it without metabolic adaptation, how to go through phases of body composition. And the other big part that makes somebody a good coach is understanding just how to connect with the client, how their mental state works, the other challenges that come up. Because like again, everybody knows that if they just like dropped calories, they'd get lean. But everybody's struggling to like there's so many people they're coming to a coach because they're struggling to do that. They're struggling because they, have like mental health challenges that are standing in their way. They have a poor relationship with food. They don't know how to fit things into their schedule. If you can't relate to that and you can't work around that and your whole thing is like you just need to freaking eat less, you're not a good coach. Like so just because they did it themselves doesn't mean they know how to coach someone to do it. A green flag, the opposing green flag here that I would look for is somebody who has a lot of proof of concept. Okay. So they have a lot of good client testimonials. They have client testimonials everywhere. They have great client transformations to show you. And I will add, because everybody does start somewhere, there was a point where I obviously like didn't have my first client. So I had no transformations or testimonials and I needed somebody to give me a chance, right? So if they're new, they can still be a good coach. Just number one, know that they're new. And so there's going to probably be some mishaps along the way but they need to be being honest with you about that. Okay. They need to be upfront about like, hey, we're kind of in this together. I'm not gonna lie. You're one of my first few clients. So we're in this together. Maybe honestly, I think they should be giving you a discounted rate if they're new because they're trying to build their proof of concept as well. So I'm not saying discount someone if they don't have client transformations or testimonials, but just make sure that you just feel this like good ethical fit with them. And honestly, you're helping them as much as they're helping you in this time of their business. So I think like getting a discount or something is good as well. But hopefully that helps and makes sense. I think the biggest thing I just want to leave you guys with too is really like trust your gut. Seriously, trust your gut. If you feel like something is off and it's just not a good fit, it's probably not a good fit. Okay. If you feel pushed into buying, if you feel like you can't connect with the coach, if you feel like they're just telling you what you want to hear, these are all things I would just be weary of and just go with your gut. And if it's taking you like you don't a reminder, and this is even to anybody who's on a call with us, you don't have to say yes and buy on the call just because you're on the call. Like, don't feel pressured into something. But I will add, also don't just say what you think we want to hear. Okay. You can be honest too. If you're feeling a little bit weary, like bring up some of these things, challenge the coach that you're talking to, challenge the person. Hey, like, do you do an intake process if they don't have one? Hey, like, what's your philosophy on, macros versus meal plans? Like, see what they say, challenge them and make sure it's the right fit for you. Okay. I think that is everything. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to shoot me a DM, whether it's working with us or honestly, if it's working with somebody else and you just even like, it's not weird for me if you reach out and you're like, hey, like I'm talking to this other coach. This is what's kind of come up. Do you think this is a green or red flag? I'm happy to answer. I feel like what's super cool about the coaching space is it's really not competitive. Like it is, but it isn't. Like we are all friends and help each other. And like I said, I'm going to add some handles below of some of my favorite other coaches in the industries that might be a good fit. And I would encourage you to look into them too. So I hope that helps. I hope you guys all have a fantastic rest of your week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.